Hi. Okay. Today let's talk about stakeholders versus stockholders. A critical two terms in the concept of business ethics. Let me tell you a quick story first. There's a company called Malden Mills. They're in northern Pennsylvania. And they're a fabric company that makes a unique product called Polartec. Polartec is one of these, it was invented by Malden Mills, by the people at Malden Mills, and it had the ability to resist, to a certain extent, fire. It had the ability to resist extreme cold, extreme heat. It was a pretty amazing fabric. And it was made, as I said, by this company called Malden Mills. One day, 2 a.m. in the morning, the owner of the company gets a call. The factory is on fire. 400 people work at the factory. And the factory is burning down. He gets in his car. He lives in a small condo nearby. He drives over, and the entire factory is engulfed in flames. The building itself was over 100 years old, and it burns literally to the ground. $2,500 people work in the factory. Sorry, I have to correct that. What are they going to do? There's no factory to go back to work to. This is in the northern Rust Belt of America, where half the factories have already closed down at this particular time. There's not even other jobs you can run to. 2,500 people out of work. An entire factory burned literally to a crisp to the ground because it was wood. The owner of the company gets a settlement from the insurance company, just over $300 million. He is approximately 70 years old when the fire happens. I would just throw this out to you. If you were 70 years old and this building burns down and everything's covered, all the old inventory that you'd never be able to sell, all the old machinery that nobody would ever want, all destroyed and paid for by the insurance company, $300 million check. You're 70 years old, take your wife, move to Florida, have a great retirement. Who wouldn't do that? Who wouldn't do that? Why wouldn't you do that? Kind of like, it's not even a question. He didn't do that. When he was interviewed by 60 Minutes, he said, 2,500 people depend on me to take care of their families, to pay for school, to buy the groceries, to put gas in the car, to go on vacations, to have Christmas. 2,500 families. And so he made a decision, number one, to rebuild the factory. Number two, and this is what made him famous, he would pay all of his employees their full salary for the next month. And that's what he did. Nobody worked. Nobody had to come in and show up. Nothing. They got a check in the mail, or they had to come pick up a check. That was it. After the first 30 days, it became quite clear that the factory would not be rebuilt in the next 30 days. But it once again made a public announcement. He would pay every single salary in full to every employee for the following 30 days. And he did that for 6 months. And it cost him $25 million. I guess you can ask yourself, would you do that? Do you know anybody who would do that? When we talk about corporate social responsibility, this is the type of action we're talking about. Who is responsible? And to whom are you responsible? Are you responsible to the stakeholders? Or are you only responsible to the stockholders? Now, the difference between a stakeholder and a stockholder is night and day. It's the essence of the partnership model that I've been sharing with you. It's the essence of the conflict between the gladiator and the warrior that I've been sharing with you. A stakeholder is a broad-based, morally founded, socially utilitarian concept. And the shareholder is a narrow, legal profitability concept. They're quite diverse and quite different. The shareholder might very fairly be said to be one of the stakeholders, but certainly not the only one. Malden Mills approached this devastating event by looking at the stakeholders that were involved. And as I said, you can Google Malden Mills. There's a 60 minutes special, and you can watch the whole special. They did about 20 minutes on the story, and you can see all the details of the story. A company must have a mission, and then its principles must be connected to that mission and to the vision that the company has. An ethical company will have a vision that is broadly based. So, for example, if we are the Disney Corp, our vision is to give pleasure and happiness to as many people as possible. And we understand that we'll accomplish that with an effective team of people that can deliver that happiness. And of course, we won't have the money to do that unless we can make the shareholders happy. So we've got to be sure that while we are delivering the happiness and making the employees happy as well, that we're also making the shareholders happy. While at the same time, we are environmentally sensitive to all the issues we have to deal with there. That's not easy. It's much easier as a company to simply say, our goal is to make profits. We make this product as inexpensively as possible. We sell it for as much as possible. And thank you very much. That's it. I'm finished. I'm going home now and having a barbecue. If you are not stakeholder focused, if you are simply shareholder focused, that's what's going to happen. You must be able to depart from the singular self-interest, from the narcissistic perspective that the shareholder is somehow the beginning and the end of the company, and broaden your view to the stakeholder. There's another famous interview that was done by Dr. Milton Friedman, very famous economist who was a total stockholder supporter. And he says straight out, who cares about what people need or want? As long as we're honest, as long as we conduct ourselves with integrity, as long as we follow the law and we deliver the product, that's our job. You want to be nice to people? You want to give them their salary for 6 months and everything? That's great. Take it out of your pocket. That money belongs to the company and its shareholders. In the same hand, you have the story of Starbucks. They go out of their way to act completely different. They look at their growers, not even one of the stakeholders that I mentioned as a partner, they look at their growers as if they were them. Are they making enough money? Are they able to sustain their families? They look at the part-time employees they have as if they were full-time. There's no other company in the entire United States that gives part-time employees full medical benefits except for Starbucks. And I'm not saying Starbucks is perfect, but certainly no other company does that. How do you reconcile Milton Friedman and Starbucks? Starbucks is enormously successful. They actually created an industry. Milton Friedman was an advisor to, I think, 3 different presidents. How do we reconcile that? The reconciliation is very simple. Starbucks is the evolution of Milton Friedman. Stakeholder perspective is the evolution of stockholder. We have to realize that just as a human child evolves and changes and grows into a mature adult, hopefully, the same is true of the business world. We are growing and changing, and we need new strategies and new approaches to make things work to their very best. The old models just won't meet the requirements of the 21st and the 22nd century. It just won't happen. You'll miss so many opportunities. With that narrow perspective, you won't survive. The other thing is, when we're talking about stakeholders and stockholders, and we're talking about how it's played out in a company, the people in the company must have faith in the vision and the mission that the company is talking about. Words are just not enough, because you are having to get an entire team to buy in with you. In the case of Malden Mills, I'll just give you a number. There was a whole bunch of statistics, but I'll just give you one. After the factory was rebuilt, there was a measurement of damaged product that every factory has, because it's impossible for you to put 100% of product in and get 100% of product out. There's going to be damage along the way. And the standard is 10%. So you put in 100% of product and 90% comes out. Malden Mills put in 100%, 97% came out. That's astounding. If you attach numbers to that, it's even more astounding. It has to be real. Up to this point, we're trying to explain to you how real and how positive an ethical manager is. This is just one example of many. So, in order to have profitable growth, we have to empower our employees. We have to create more pleasure portholes for our customers. We have to be aware of the environment around us and how it impacts us. And all of that can only happen if we decide to view the company from a stakeholder perspective, not a stockholder perspective. If we choose to view the company from the values that such a company has impacts the company in many ways. For example, your values impact the physical structure of the company. What are the safety protocols in an ethically conscious company? How many vents do they have? How do they extract pollutants? What's the appearance of the company's building? How does that make people feel? What is the quality of the actual product you're producing? What is that like? Is it for the benefit of the customer, or is it for the benefit of the company? What's the consistency of that output? Johnson & Johnson, one of the most famous pharmaceutical marketing companies, has major quality issues, hundreds of millions of recalls, and they have major brands, Tylenol and St. John's, and major brands. So your values will impact that structure. Your values will always also, impact management structures. What does that mean? It means that discipline, accountability. How do people communicate with each other? How do people cooperate with each other? And so on and so forth. Values makes a difference. And now the perspective of the values, stakeholder versus stockholder, also makes a difference. And finally, your values will impact the social emotional structures that are in the company as well. What do we mean? Well, we're talking about things like customer service. How do I deliver my customer service? Begrudgingly or in a positive way? Am I trying to think about things that will improve the customer service experience? Or am I trying to get away with the least amount of work possible? What about the harmony in my workplace? What about the harmony with my customers? How do I nurture innovation in my company? How do I encourage new ideas? How do I encourage excellence? How do I get 100% out of every employee? How do I accomplish that? Those are the challenges that face a manager when they are dealing with the perspective of a stakeholder or a stockholder.